Hello, Mouse Planet. Alan DeLinka back with you for a new Mouse Planet Live. And I'm just going to skip right ahead to bringing Adrian Vincent Phoenix on. And welcome,
Hey,
Adrian. So,
hello, hello.
one new thing I thought I'd point out to you, Adrian, because we're going to have to keep an eye in one other place than usual, is that since Periscope has finally been kiboshed altogether by Twitter, we are on Twitter Live, and the number that I see on our screen here in StreamYard only reflects our Mouse Planet viewers on Facebook and YouTube, and our comments only reflect those on Facebook and YouTube. Twitter has
Oh
its own
no.
thing, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of people as I pull up my phone. There's a whole bunch more people watching us on Twitter than on other
Hi
platforms,
guys.
but unfortunately, the Twitter comments I don't think come through to StreamYard anymore. So just
Okay.
something to keep an eye on. So
All right.
what's
Well,
going
I
on
will
out
keep an eye
west?
on
Since
Twitter too.
what's going on out? I can't even talk. See how that happens? We don't go live in so long, and I lose the ability to talk. What's going on out west since I last saw you here in Florida a couple weeks ago?
Well, in my world or in Disneyland
Well, let's
world? I mean,
start with
what are we
Disneyland.
talking?
Let's start with
Oh
Disneyland,
man.
unless we start getting comments that say, "Hey, what's going on in Adrian's world?"
Oh man, I thought that was the entire point of this stream. Okay, so we actually just got the announcement today that the Disneyland monorails are going to reopen, which is huge news because obviously they've been closed the entirety of the pandemic. We've been seeing them circle around. People said they saw them back as early as September 11th weekend, but they were circling around. I caught photos of them this weekend, and again on Monday, circling. And Disney just announced that they're going to be opening up on the 15th, which is tomorrow. So that's huge news because that's a nice piece of transportation. That obviously is a perk for Disneyland Resort guests that are staying at either Disneyland Hotel, Paradise Pier Hotel. Grand Cal, not so much, they're much closer to walk. So we're just happy to see that. It's a piece of the infrastructure coming back that Florida's had back since, the beginning of time.
So, in terms of Disneyland, in terms of what's open before we start getting through Walt Disney World, what's the latest on what's open out at Disneyland? All three hotels are back up and running to some extent, and the parks are up and running, and downtown Disneyland are running. What can you give folks in terms of the big picture out west?
Most everything is up and running. We actually just got the announcement yesterday that Disney Junior is going to reopen. Excuse me, sorry. Apparently, I just swallowed a frog or something like that. But that's entertainment coming back to the Disneyland Resort. You've got the Disney Junior Playhouse, which is coming back, which is really, a nice. That's a nice piece of indoor live entertainment that's really kid friendly, and so that's a great thing to have back. So we're starting to see that. Todd Pickering yesterday sent me some photos. He was visiting the resort. He sent me some photos of the World of Color soundstage or platform stage being worked on, which is great to see. When we were out in Walt Disney World for the 50th, I asked Steve Davidson about World of Color, and he didn't have anything that he could share. But it was really great for me to see that they're actually working on that because that's been a big piece. We're waiting to hear whether or not Min or Phantasmic might be coming back. We'd like to see all of those things. My biggest right now is when the heck are those monorail or is the parking lot trams coming back? Because we do not like that half-mile walk to and from the parks every morning.
Hmm. Well, that's been a thing here in Florida for more than a year now. The parking lot
Hmm.
trams closed when the parks and resorts closed here, and they are all sitting out there idle in each of the parking lots as you walk around Walt Disney World's parking areas. Now, having said that, I don't think this is quite the case at Disneyland, but the redesign of the parking lots out here in Florida is such that you're really not saving many steps when you take the trams from some of the places like Epcot.
Hmm.
You're gonna not save a heck of a lot of steps from where you get on the tram to where you get off the tram because the
Right.
tram is now well outside the monorail entrance, the overhang to where the monorail is because of the way they redesigned the entrances to security. And so
Right.
there's a monorail drop off there. Excuse me, and there's also a separate monorail drop off for the east side which I'm not sure if and when that'll ever get up and running either, because the security that they built, the beautiful new structure that they built for security with lots and lots of lanes to go through, is rarely used. It may be used at park opening, and I haven't been over for rope drop and ever. No, I haven't been
Mhm.
over for rope drop in a long, long time. But it seems that even if you end up parking on the east side of the parking lot, you have to walk over to security on the west side, which is under the monorail station.
Right. No, it's a much different dynamic here with, the parking structure is a half mile away. Um, and,
Well, so
you know,
so
a
is
lot
So is Magic Kingdom parking to the DTC.
that's true. That's true. That's
I
true.
mean,
So
I joked with you when you were out here that it is just a bigger walk. Well, heck,
everywhere.
my car was further away from us when we were at the Contemporary in some of the media sessions than my house is from the Contemporary
Yeah,
because of
that's
where they
true.
had us park. Yeah.
Well,
So I
and
mean, that's
some of the hotels here are a much farther walk than the parking structure, and people do that readily. So, but if I will say for people who do have a mobility impairment and for whom that half mile walk just isn't tenable, you can park in the Toy Story lot, and you can do the tram. The bus from the Toy Story lot is running much energy walk. Well, um, Gloria is asking about the trams. That's the situation there. Shauna was asking, when can non-Grand Californian hotel guests go to the new Tanaya spa that just opened? And we don't have a date on that yet, Shauna, but hopefully soon, because I know
so
that's
right.
something that you've definitely been looking forward to.
So right now the spa is only open to resort guests. Are there other things in the Disneyland hotel facilities that are only open to resort guests and not open to the general public?
No, no, the Tanaya spa is an anomaly, and I think it's just because that is such a small capacity. Um, I think it had 8 treatment rooms. It's very, very small, and because they're still staffing up, I think that was why they went with the resort guest only policy at first, but I'm sure that's going to be fairly quickly resolved. I really do believe it was just a function of how small the venue is right now, and I actually have, some photos I can share of that, if
Did
you
the
want.
did the Grand Californian's private entrance to California Adventure reopen to those resort
No.
guests?
Oh, yes, it did. So if
And
you wanna share that screen, Alan.
Paradise Piers private entrance disappeared long ago, right? Your screen just disappeared from the share
Oh,
menu.
literally demolished years ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought. There's nothing to
There
share.
we
There we go.
go. Isn't that pretty? So that is the, entrance tour. That's the, lounge area, the waiting lounge for.
And didn't they use some of the same folks and same concepts as done at Alani's Spa for the build out of this new facility?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, the, manager that we met with at the spa, actually comes from Alauni. So I had met him in Alauni, years ago when, that actually opened. So let me show you something here. You see in the stained glass window these slices of agate that are
And
in the window. That's
Adrian, if you hit Command Shift and Plus, you can even zoom in on that
Yeah, you're
on your
cute.
keyboard.
So
That
let me
that didn't
also,
happen? Okay.
no, I think I'm trying to see if I actually have a photo of the stone itself, and I may not. We were moving through there so quickly. But the whole spa is just absolutely gorgeous. So that's the light fixture at the entrance. So these are the treatment rooms. They're really tiny, um, which is fine because you're, you know, face down and not paying any attention to the environment. But they're pretty tiny, and I think there's only 8 of them. So that's, I think, one reason for the capacity restriction. But they're absolutely beautiful. Okay, that's what I got for you.
All right. Well, let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla that debuts here in Florida next Tuesday, the Disney Genie. Sorry, Genie, but you're the 800-pound gorilla, since that's all anybody
Yeah.
seems to want to talk about on social media. the interesting thing, and I was invited to sit in on a media discussion about it a few hours before they announced the launch date, and they shared with us pretty much the same stuff they ended up sharing with the public not long after that. It's got an interesting concept behind it that Bob Chapek talked about at Expo, and they talked about this in terms of what makes a great day when visiting the parks. That's the ultimate goal of Disney Genie, according to its behind the scenes folks and behind the marketing folks. And there are some aspects to it that sound like they will be interesting and free. And that's the itinerary board, the tip board, as they're calling it, that'll constantly update during the day with where the lowest wait times are around the park in one easy to view screen instead of having to go screen by screen by screen. And by next available time, that's going to be available for both attractions and dining. And so you don't
Hmm.
have to go to each restaurant and see what their current standby is, whether they have any reservations available. And all of the free aspects of Genie sound interesting. And then we start to get into the paid flavors. And that's, I think, where everybody is rightfully more upset. The paid flavors, the Genie Plus, and they've added a couple of words since they first unrolled it. It's the Disney Genie Plus service and the individual a la carte Lightning Lane entrance. So if you want more words in your
Oh,
title, Disney
they
has given
did
it
add
to you.
words.
And so here in Florida, the way it works, let's start with the big picture, right? The way it works for the lower part of this, the big part of this, those are attractions that were mostly FastPass Plus available before, where you could pre-book up to three. And years ago, you could go to the machines around the park and stick your ticket in and get one new attraction at a time every 2 hours or after every ride. The purple ones on this list require you to pay $15 per day per guest for the privilege of picking one at a time, either after every ride or every 2 hours. So, for example, if you pick Big Thunder Mountain and the next return time for Big Thunder Mountain is 8 hours away, 2 hours after you've selected Big Thunder Mountain, you can make another selection if there's one available. And at Magic Kingdom, it's kind of fun if you think about it. There are Disney Genie Plus selections like there were FastPass Plus selections that you never, ever need a Lightning Lane admission for. You never, ever needed a FastPass admission for, say, Mickey's PhilharMagic. It's such a big
Right.
theater. It seats so many guests at a time. Now, when it launches next Tuesday, Mickey's PhilharMagic won't be available as one of those options because it's closed for renovation until the middle of next month. So it can be digitized and that we can get the new Coco scene that I guess you guys already got out in California.
Hmm.
But all of the purple attractions are the ones that are included in Disney's Genie Plus service, Lightning Lane access. And the other perks they throw in here in Florida are their let me go back to the other screen. I think it's on here, right? Yes, the Photopass AR, augmented reality lenses, and audio experiences, which so far we've really heard very little about what the audio experiences are going to be. The augmented reality lenses, Adrian and I, we got to see them demonstrate Remy, right? Remy was in the
Hmm.
chef's hat pulling on the
Yeah.
guy's hair. There were some other interesting ones that have been previewed. Some are going to be park specific, and some are going to be available for, I want to say, 45 days after you're in the
Yes.
park so that you can use them at home, use them with friends and family, but you can only use them if you've actually paid for Disney Genie Plus. Although
Right.
interestingly, if we have any Disney D23 Gold members listening, they're giving D23 Gold members an opportunity to register for free Genie Plus, but only next Tuesday.
Yeah. I just
Registration is
put that
today.
up.
Yeah, registration is today, but it's going live next Tuesday, and that's the day they're offering it for free. Oh, you put that in this screen, and I can share that
I
screen
did.
like that. How about that?
Hmm.
And let's talk about the more controversial part of it that has a corollary with what's already been launched as Premier Access in Paris, which is the blue set, the a la carte individual Lightning Lane access, where two attractions in each park currently have been designated as a la carte Lightning Lane attractions, where there'll be a dynamically priced entrance fee that you can purchase in the morning, starting at 7 a.m. if you're a resort guest, or starting at park open if you're anyone else, to get a return time like a virtual queue boarding group, but not exactly, since Remy's Ratatouille Adventure still has a virtual group. You got all this? It is so complicated that every time Disney says it's simple, I sort of wince. Now,
Right.
I, I've got it down. I understand it. And like many things at Disney, it requires a lot of homework and a lot of patience to
Right.
learn it. But Disney has always rewarded people who've done their homework. And
Absolutely.
if
FastPass
you
was the
study this
ultimate
up,
example of that.
yeah, if you study up and if you pay attention to the details, I mean, even let's go back in time, 50 years to the opening of Walt Disney World, and at the same time operating out in California Disneyland with the ticket books. You paid for admission to the park, and that included a handful of events and activities around the park. But if you wanted to ride most of the rides, you also had to buy those A tickets, the B tickets, the C tickets, and you could buy them in various
Hmm.
value coupon books, or you could buy them individually
Hmm.
at the kiosks around the parks. And when I was a little kid, you wanted to ration those tickets because you didn't want to waste the D ticket on something that was less interesting than, say, I think 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea at Magic Kingdom was a D
Right.
ticket back in the day, because Space Mountain wasn't there till 75. Um, and then we like Florida, I guess, phased them out first. Disney World went to unlimited admission pricing back when Epcot opened, and we had passports. And I know my first Disneyland passport is from the summer of '83 when I visited, right? '83. So that's about when Disneyland started phasing out those tickets. But always doing your homework helped pay off in terms of what you could do and couldn't do in the park. But now homework also requires a price tag, and those prices haven't been set in stone because they're dynamically set. And Disney has only given samples of a couple of days, saying that on one day, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure will be $7, and on a different day, it'll be $12, and that Star Wars Rise of the Resistance will typically be $15.
Right. Well,
And
so you said that you've got it down and you've done your homework, and I think this is. And Shauna asked a question that I think realistically we need to put up an infographic on this so that people can have that. What is the best ride to do? What is the best way to do attraction, whatever? So for Rise of the Resistance specifically, the best way, in my opinion, to do Rise of the Resistance is try to get the morning virtual queue.
wait, that only works at Disneyland because we
I
don't
thought
have it
you were.
virtual. We no longer have a virtual queue for Rise of the Resistance here in Florida. Our Todd
Oh, they took
King,
yours off.
our star, what's that?
You just took the thing off the. I thought it was on the list. Sorry, my bad.
No more virtual. It's a lightning lane selection, but it's not a virtual queue selection. The
Okay, well then the best way to do Rise of the Resistance is to get there at rope drop
well,
and figure
what I was
out.
about to what I was about to say about that is our Todd King was our Star Wars reporter was out here
Mhm.
this week, and he and his family were staying on property, so they got the 30-minute early access to the park, but they didn't get there at the start or before the 30-minute early access. They got there before rope drop. And by the time they got to Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, it was a 2-hour standby queue. And
Okay,
they waited the 2 hours in the standby queue because that
so I think
that
that's
was
realistically what you're going to have to do. And if
but now
you don't want to wait in that, go ahead.
here's where here's where it pays off to be a frequent visitor, right? If you're an annual pass holder here or a magic key holder out there, I recommend taking a look daily at Genie to see what the virtual this is the better infographic for it, to see what the forecasted waits for Star Wars Rise of the well, this actually doesn't apply at Disneyland because you got the virtual queue. But here in Florida, you're going to want to pay attention to that forecasted wait number and see what time of day typically has the lowest wait time for Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. I can tell you, having just observed on my own, based on keeping an eye on what the standby time was at Rise of the Resistance on Tuesday this week when I was at Hollywood Studios, that it ebbed and flowed through the day. It got down to a low of about 70 minutes at one point, At a lot of points, it was at 120 or 130 minutes. And that low point tended to come sort of mid to late afternoon at Florida's hottest time of the day.
Parade time?
But of course, yeah, I mean, well, we don't have parades. We have motorcades and cavalcades and flotillas, but there are no parades. And really, I mean, Hollywood Studios motorcade is not the sort of thing that people line up for. I mean, frankly, what happens, and this, I'm sort of sorry that Todd is on the road today and can't join us, but what happens to many guests around that 3:30, 4 o'clock window here in Florida, especially if they're not from Florida, if they've rope dropped, they're starting to melt, right?
Yes.
Because it's still at this time of the year, typically 90 degrees every day. And if you've been out in the night, I mean, put the chicken in the oven for 12 hours at 90 degrees, it's going to start to cook. And that's what happens to guests after they've been in the sun in Florida for all those hours. And so people start leaving. Now, that of course is when locals like me start going to the park. As I've explained to out of town friends, they go rope drop and start to melt down mid-afternoon. I go oftentimes at the hottest part of the day, because from that part of the day on, the temperature's only dropping,
Mhm.
especially at this time of year. Because at this time of year, we start to get 15 minutes to an hour to 2 hours to 4 hours of nice nighttime temperatures. We're about to start hitting those really, really nice nighttime temperatures
Yeah.
maybe in the next 2, 3 weeks. So going late, you may have a better chance. You just need to start monitoring the standby times to get a sense of it. Is there something you want me to put up? I keep seeing the box on
Well,
the
but
bottom of the screen change.
you're talking as a local
Yeah.
and with somebody who has the ability to, eh, do that, to monitor the wait times and to kind of get an idea of the trend.
Well,
For someone who's coming from California, like Shauna would be, who wants to go on that attraction, um,
you're going to want to download
realistically
it in advance. What I'm saying though, Adrian, is in advance, you want
Mhm.
to download the My Disney Experience app and keep an eye within Disney Genie at that forecasted wait time number that's up there for every attraction in all of the parks. That's going to be constantly updated in real time. They've told us it's going to take into account downtime. They say it's going to take into account weather interruption. So I mean, that's the sort of thing that
Right,
if you're planning to come, you're going to want to keep an eye on it. And folks like our one-time friends at Touring Plans, who do lots and lots of statistical analysis, will probably have some decent guidance in coming weeks and months once we
right.
see what data they can mine out of the data that Disney releases.
Yeah.
What else you got? I've covered all I can cover on Genie. Do people have other questions about Genie that is there a launch date for
Gloria was
Disneyland?
asking when it's coming out.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
not
All
that
we
we
know
know
for
of.
certain is fall. Yeah, and uh,
Well,
this is the comment. 3 to 4 o'clock is nap time, and that's what I said. People who rope drop, who've gotten up at 7 a.m. to try to get their virtual queue, and who try to get to the park during resort hours or rope drop. Yeah, 3 or 4 o'clock with the heat. That's meltdown nap time, no question.
right. What I had put up was, you know, what I had put up was a photo of the 50th fireworks, uh, and I wanted to get into that a little bit because there was definitely some. Do you want to talk about the 50th entertainment?
It's lacking. That's my 2 cents. Having been to the parks for all the previews that you and I got to see, and now having been back to the parks a few times since October 1st, um, the the beacons of magic, except for Epcot's, are highly disappointing. They are 1 minute little interstitials. Um, they are the sorts of things that had the pandemic not happened, I imagine Disney would have been promoting. Oh, and be sure to catch, as opposed to making them the centerpiece, because
Hmm.
the one at Animal Kingdom I went to see last week. Um, Everybody gathered at sunset, and eventually the area music stopped, and it started, and we thought, okay, we're going to see something akin to the various Tree of Life awakenings. And what we saw was 1 minute with some minor projection on the tree, which was less extensive in my opinion, than any of the awakenings that we've seen in the past on the tree. And we
Hmm.
didn't see any particular special lighting effects. And when that 1 minute presentation that includes the magic song, whose title I still can't get in my head, "Get the magic in you, let the magic live." It's a magic song, right? Um, when
You
that
are the
song end,
magic.
you are the magic. So when the narration and the song ended, everybody's standing around with their cameras waiting to see what happens. And what happens
Right.
is nothing. Nothing. I mean, it goes into just the regular background projection on the Tree of Life with some animal life and highlights, and the area music comes back up. And the show cycles every 15 minutes at Animal Kingdom. So I stayed around 15 minutes to see, well, is there something else? Is there something different? No, it was exactly the same a minute later. But speaking of Animal Kingdom, I don't have my kite tails queued up. I've posted a bunch of the kite tails pictures. If you got the Instagram, I've got our kite tail stuff on our Instagram. Um,
I do.
I very much enjoyed kite tails. I saw both versions in preview. I've caught one of the versions at least once since I've been back, when I did that one from Flame Tree Barbecue, eating my dinner, watching kite tails. And I mean, frankly, kite tails is what I would call cheap fun entertainment. Somebody has
You know,
spent a
I
good amount of money. Somebody spent a good amount of money creating these kites, because they're not the kind of kites you're buying at the dollar store. And somebody's paying good money for labor for these people who are brave enough to be on the jet skis in that narrow pond, at high
Mhm.
speeds, whipping around those kites. But because they're putting kites in a place that wasn't designed for a show like this, the
Right.
kites have to land somewhere. And it's those
Well,
landings that are going viral, right? I mean,
put the
I've
video up.
so this one, oh, you got to hit play. This video
No.
doesn't include, what's that? This video doesn't include a crash.
No, but this is kite tails, and this is the environment. You know, you're in that really
It just fro
small amphitheater.
On my screen, it
Um,
froze. Yeah,
okay, well, it's going on mine.
now it's going. All right. No,
So
it's
you're a
it's
really
it's
small venue.
well, and as you see, there's a bridge, so they can't like go
Mm,
backstage and hide the landings backstage. They have to land on stage, and in fact, they land on the stands, and they've landed in trees, and they've apparently landed on a cast member or two, if not a guest or two. I've heard conflicting reports on the latter. Um,
well,
but
and I'm
it's
sorry, but that's absurd. And that's why the show is getting to me. That's why the show is getting the reaction it is, because you're seriously telling me that a multi-billion-dollar entertainment company built a show that the designed I'm sorry, they crashed the kite. It's hysterical to me. And I get all the limitations and I get all of it. I 100% get every tiny bit of it. They can't put them over the bridge. They can't put them over people. They can't move them this way. They can't move them this way. They've got this venue and I get it. And so I wish that they had leaned into that really, really hard. That
well,
they knew
if
that those had to come on stage and they had to come off stage that way, and they literally had to crash. And why didn't they lean into that so hard and have
I
Goofy narrated or Launchpad McQuack or something like that and own
I
it
very
as
much
opposed to people thinking it's a fail?
I very much agree with that, and I add in what I've sort of suggested a moment ago when I said I was very disappointed by the entertainment, and that is, rather than going, "Aw shucks, this is the best we could do in these circumstances," that the pandemic knocked things out, that supply chains are limited, that even cast numbers. Disney promoted this week that they're back to 50,000 cast members here in Florida, which is fantastic. But there were 80. So,
Yeah.
there are still jobs to be filled, both that they're struggling to fill and ones that they're maybe twiddling their thumbs trying to decide if they want to fill. Both categories clearly exist. I mean, we talked about the trams. There are reports, and I haven't gone to search the legitimacy of the help wanted ads, excuse me, for the tram drivers, right?
Mm.
I have heard of shortages of bus drivers. Bus
Right.
drivers system wide are a challenge. The minivans have not come back. Why? We don't have drivers, right? I mean,
Right.
it's all these cascading problems. And instead of going, "Aw shucks, folks, we really wish we could have put on more of a show, but we're really, doing our best." Disney has done its typical marketing spin, which is this is the greatest. And it's not.
Yes.
It's less than what we had before the pandemic. It's more than what we had during the height of the phased reopening. As I wrote in our update on the kite tails, it is wonderful to have something in that amphitheater that has hosted nothing but shows that have not succeeded. They
Right.
spent all that money building that wonderful amphitheater only to have Rivers of Light fail to open on time because of technical reasons, getting replaced by that Jungle Cruise. I keep saying Jungle Cruise, Jungle Book Show, which was great in terms of having some live entertainers, but it's the line from the producers when Nathan Lane's character says, "It's like theater in the square. Nobody had a good seat." And that was the case of the Jungle Book show. There was no prime location to sit in that theater to see that Jungle Book show because the theater hadn't been designed for it. It had been designed for Rivers of Light. And then
Right.
when Rivers of Light debuted, it was just one of Disney's failed shows. It was
Right.
beautiful. It looked beautiful. It was supposed to be a kiss goodnight in a tranquil setting that is a park like Animal Kingdom devoted to animals and nature. But for the average theme park guest, it was too subtle. It was at the end of a long, hot day, and it wasn't resonating. And then they
Right.
fired the live entertainment aspect of that. They went to complete automation for the final version of that show that ran. And it was a minor improvement in energy, but it was not a improvement in terms of guest response. So it was not shocking that it went away during the pandemic. And it's very sad, but there's this big amphitheater there that sits empty most of the time.
Right. Well,
Sort
and
of like, sort of like when California Adventure was built, and you had that lovely pond in front of California Screamin' and the Fun Wheel or whatever it was
right.
called back in the day, and it was just empty.
Right. I get it. I mean, I get it. And again, I'm glad they put something in there. I'm so glad they put something in there. I just you're gonna have a kite crashing into a tree. You need to pretend you need to address that and not act like, oh no, no, we that it's all good. I mean, that is the we did plan that. Okay, so lean into that, write it in. I mean, do we want to talk about harmonious?
All right, let's go over to the big ring in the lake.
Stargate?
I don't have my pictures queued up. I don't have favorite pictures that I've taken of it. I've only seen it the one time you and I saw it, because when I was in the park on October 1st, I decided I didn't want to stick around for it a
Okay.
second time. I will make it back over there at some point in the not too distant future, but we here at Mouse Planet and every other social media and even some of the more mass media sites have written about the big ring and the big tacos, as people are calling the LED boards in the middle of World Showcase Lagoon, ruining the daytime views of the park. And Disney's line on that was "Just you wait," right? Just right from Hamilton, "Just you wait." And we saw the opening night debut preview presentation of it, and to say it received golf claps from the live invited audience and the guests who were in the park, because they didn't sweep the park for it. Adrian's put up a picture. To say it got golf claps is nice, right? That's about the nicest thing we can say about it. And
I
I
think golf
started to
clap
have.
is a
Is this one of the publicity stills, or is this is one of the or one of yours?
that's one of mine. That's the Stargate.
So, I mean, we started seeing publicity photos and video like this a month or two before it premiered, and I started to get worried because I'm like, well,
Hmm.
maybe it's better in person than it photographs. Um, but it's a tough call. It may grow on me, but it may not. Rivers of Light never did.
Well, I am often accused of being a little too negative on this show, um, about this particular piece of entertainment. So what I will say, and I do have to give huge props to Steve Davison and the creative team in that they pulled this off during a pandemic. And
Yep.
the fact that there is anything on the water right now, Stargate notwithstanding, there's the tacos and the Loch Ness monster. They look like a pod of Loch Ness monsters towards the Stargate, and that's what my feeling on it is. The fact that that even got on the water is amazing, and so I'm giving them a little bit of credit for getting. I mean, I'm giving a lot of credit for getting that far with it. The show itself, I was, pretty clear in my opinion of the through line on the show, but it's just disappointing to me how many people are so. We wanted it to be better. I mean, if you're going to replace Illuminations, it needed to be a worthy successor to Illuminations, and I don't feel that it was. But that's my own opinion, and everybody gets to have one of those. And I felt I ran into Steve Davison the night after the premiere, and I'm like, oh, he's never going to talk to me again because I was not typically, I was not generally kind on the show. And he said, realistically, everybody has an opinion, and he's okay with that. And he's looking
Well,
forward
and the
to
real
the tweets.
the real test of it is going to be if it accomplishes what the original administration who created Illuminations 2000, the one that we saw for the last 20 years, if the people get a similar result. And I'm trying to remember which of the resort leaders I listened to give a speech about it a couple of years ago at a Give Kids the World event, and I wrote about it at the time. But he had said that by convincing Michael Eisner to give him this little bit of extra money to do some of the finishing touches to it that they wanted to make it the spectacle it became, it translated in actually keeping guests in park to the park close at 9 o'clock,
Sure.
increasing attendance, and more importantly for the park, increasing profitability. Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, guests spend in those last hours in the park, especially at a park like Epcot, where food and beverage is king. Um,
Hmm.
he said that was translating just to top line dollar on or bottom line dollar on his net profits sheet for Epcot year after year after year because Illuminations did such a good job of keeping people in the park. And I can tell you on October 1st when I was in the park until they scheduled the show extra late. So I that was another reason I decided not to stay around. Um, Park was not crowded. Magic Kingdom was bursting at
Mm.
the seams. People, they had closed down park hopping for the first time that I had seen since they reintroduced park hopping at the beginning of the year. The monorail was only open to resort guests when I got to the park at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. But as you walked around World Showcase, there were lots of places there were no people at sundown. And I contrast that with Magic Kingdom, and we'll talk about its fireworks show next. Um, there were people camped out at Magic Kingdom yesterday for the new fireworks show as early as 5 o'clock for an 8 o'clock show. And that didn't happen with Happily Ever After on a regular basis. That didn't happen with Wishes on a regular basis. But it's
Right.
happening because we've got a new fireworks show that people want to see or are interested in
Well,
seeing.
and I think October 1st isn't a good day to judge anything for Harmonious only because all the focus was on Magic Kingdom that day. I'll be curious on your return visits back to Epcot, what attendance traffic actually looks like. Um, if you want to go over to talk about Enchanted, here's my
Enchant,
favorite
en-
photo from Enchanted.
isn't it
Enchantment, sorry.
enchantment? Yeah.
Here's my favorite photo from Enchantment. I just put that up on the screen there. Um,
I'm sh-
so I'm all the way down at the end of the street, and everybody is all the way in front of the castle. And it's because you guys are gonna all have to learn how to watch fireworks differently now because the show is completely different than what you're used to. All of the photographers, all of the media, the locals, the regular suspects were all down at the castle, crowded around the castle, watching the fireworks show, and completely missing everything that was going on down on the other end of the street because you
well,
guys
but
are not used to these projections.
no, it's not just that though. At the media event, they actively were pushing us in that direction because
Right.
they wanted us up close for Bob Chapek and Bob Iger's rededication and for Christina Aguilera's singing of the song that she sang, which
Right.
I'm already blanking on which one it was. But they wanted
It
us
was a
down by the
medley.
stage. They wanted us down by the stage to see that stuff. And,
Yeah.
that was at the expense of seeing everything that there is to be seen in the back of the park, as ever, not back of the park, the front of the park, as you're showing here on the screen.
Yeah. Well, I think that's gonna be a big change for people from Florida is just where to watch the fireworks now because the stage has changed.
But
Now the pick
you're not gonna have the freedom of choice, because unlike when we were there for they had swept the park ahead of this, so we were the only ones in the park, the invited
Mhm,
guests. When I was in Magic Kingdom with Todd King and his family yesterday,
mhm.
it was getting crowded at 5. I left at 7:30, a half an hour before fireworks, and you could barely walk down Main Street. I mean, they had a small they had basically, you could sort of walk behind the garbage can and tree that you're showing here at the right, or under the facades at the left, kind of, sort of. You very much wish that it had a Disneyland Paris style arcade, or that they had opened up
Yes.
the back, or that they had opened up the backstage exits for us to get out, because it was tough swimming upstream. And I've just lost Adrian. Um, I wonder why that is. I take it I'm still live, but I don't know what happened to Adrian. So there she is. She's coming back.
But when you drop the, link onto the wrong window, it all goes sideways.
Well, I was just saying that it was very difficult to get out of the park yesterday by swimming
Yeah.
upstream up Main Street, because guests are cramming Main Street. Now, I watched the fireworks. I'm trying to load it here in the. I was trying to load it while you were talking, but then you disappeared. I went because I left the park at 7:30. I took the ferry boat to the TTC dock after the fireworks, before the fireworks started last night. Boy, I can't even talk. And so the view from across Seven Seas Lagoon is quite interesting. I didn't I haven't practiced taking pictures of this, so my pictures are more blurry than I like. Um, but there are some very interesting views to be had. These are all The fireworks you see here are all the in-park fireworks. And Adrian, if you can go back to that fireworks shot that you showed a few screens ago, with those low white fireworks on either side of the castle, you know which one I'm talking about?
Hang on.
So these are the fireworks that are launched in park from close to the castle. The ones I can see from my house are the ones launched from way behind the park, and they're very, very high. In fact, they would not fit in a frame where I was getting a close up like this. So if you see Adrian's picture here, and I turn off the one I took, you see that that's actually not the one. I think there's another one even before this. That's close to the finale, that shot. You had one more
I
before this.
I have 75,000 photos on my roll. I'm not sure which
Oh,
one
I
you
was
want.
just saying, it was the one. It's the one that has the low fireworks that look like that, just white streaks, and then it had some high ones.
That's as good as you're getting right now.
All right.
Sorry,
Well,
I'm not
what I was trying to show was that the high fireworks are truly very high, because you are intended to watch it from all up and down Main Street, and not just from the hub, as in the. Let me see if I can upload it here.
okay.
I've got I've got one. It'd take me a minute to transfer it to my laptop. So yeah, all the fireworks in this shot here, except for those two streaks that are on their way up, those are all shot from inside the park. The one that shoots from outside the park, and I can add it to the screen in a moment here. And I've lost Adrian again. It's interesting. Adrian's still here, but she's not here. So this is showing you just how high the fireworks are shot now. They're well above the castle, and Adrian is recharging. So that's why I don't have her with me, and I get to filibuster. And I don't see any fresh comments coming in. So while we're pretty much done talking fireworks, let me share something a little bit different here. Adrian and I also got to have dinner at, well, it was lunch actually, Steakhouse 71. And more interesting, I thought, was the lobby outside Steakhouse 71, which has this new Mary Blair influenced look to it, where the mural on the wall is designed in Mary Blair's style, which is very much reminiscent of what you see up in the concourse upstairs on 4, where the monorail comes in, the Grand Canyon concourse. And the pole in the back here includes the five-legged goat, who is famous for not necessarily being an error or being a design choice. Nobody's quite sure, but it appears on that mural back in the Grand Canyon concourse up on 4. So the whole lobby has this sort of 70s aesthetic now that isn't feeling like stale 70s. I'm not sure if that comes across real well, but it's not really Formica that you're seeing, but it feels sort of like that look and style. Adrian kept calling it Mary Blair's Kitchen. I don't have the view queued up in the opposite direction. While we're waiting for Adrian to come back, I am going to queue up something I thought was very interesting. This will take me a few clicks here. This is the promotional reel from the folks at Cirque du Soleil. The show Drawn to Life is coming to the west side of Disney Springs in November. Tickets are already on sale. You get there via Cirque's website. You can also get there via Disney Springs website. I see Adrian's popped back up, but I'm in the middle of trying to load this Cirque du Soleil video, which is requiring way too many clicks, as it's often the case these days. I am sorry that I have to filibuster to get there, but I do have to filibuster to get there. I'm almost there. There's the video. Here it comes now. So the Cirque du Soleil show is different than most Cirque shows in the sense that it doesn't have any of the rotating acts that some of the Cirque shows have. In other words, when you go see particularly the Cirque shows that travel from town to town, if they perform 7 nights a week and 8 shows a week or 9 shows a week, during each show, you'll see some set pieces that are the same. And depending on which night you're there or which day you're there, you may see some different show in between, some different acrobatic specialty act. So whether it's a kind of juggling or a kind of swinging act, those acts change in most Cirque shows. Those acts are not going to change in Drawn to Life. Drawn to Life was developed in conjunction with Walt Disney Animation Studios. And so the animation always needs to fit the show. And I've been told by the folks who run the Cirque show that they haven't created alternate sets of material. So while cast members may switch out during individual performances, because it's going to be performed multiple times per week, it won't necessarily have any significant differences because it is a Cirque show with a complete throughput of a storyline involving a little girl named Julie, who in the finest Disney animation tradition has been orphaned. And when her father, who was an animator, has passed away, he left a treasure for her, and she goes on a hunt for this treasure with animated characters. And it's done with a lot of, like I said, Disney animation and Cirque acrobatics.
Why are we orphaning kids again?
I'm sorry?
Why are we orphaning kids again?
It's the
Really
Disney
hate that.
animation tradition.
Yeah,
In
I'm not
fact,
real
they make
fond
fun
of
of it. They make fun of it here in the Frozen sing-along. You know, you name a Disney character from a Disney animated classic whose parents survived to the end of the film.
I know, it creates
I
the
would say
drama.
I would say Jasmine's father is the only one that's coming to mind as I'm sitting here. And for a while, he's possessed and hypnotized and almost killed. And I guess Belle's father survives. But what happened to Belle's mother?
Yeah,
What happened
well,
to
we don't
Jasmine's mother?
know.
What happened to Andy's father in Toy Story? And that's not even a straight up Disney movie. That's a Pixar movie.
Interesting. Well, I was gonna try to share some photos, but apparently sharing is broken for me. So sorry about
Okay.
that. Um, can
So
we
here,
talk
I'll
about
share this
California?
one. I'll share that one.
Okay. Can we talk about California Girl?
Certainly. I have not been up there in years.
Or not California Girl, State 77.
71.
Sure. Steakhouse not 55. The Disney Commissary Cafeteria.
So I didn't think it was the Disney Commissary Cafeteria, but I also didn't think it was a white tablecloth steakhouse restaurant, as you were suggesting when we were eating there at lunch. But you can go
Well,
ahead and
that's what
talk
was
about it.
weird.
What's that?
I felt that was weird. You know, you're going to name something steakhouse. As a Californian at the entrance, I'm like, oh, okay, they're recreating Steakhouse 55. Nope. The entrance looks like it's a recreation of Steakhouse 55 from California. Then you walk in, and it is company commissary as decorated by Mary Blair. Now, I mean, I expect Disney to have a really nice Mary Blair decorated company commissary, but this was not at all what I was expecting from a steakhouse. And the ambiance really kind of put me off. It's the wave. It's still the wave with the Mary
And
Blair flair,
and I
and
mean,
it
to your
works.
point though, it's not intended to be the high-end dining experience at Disney's Contemporary. It's supposed to be the sort of middle end Disney dining experience at that resort. The high end being the California Grill
Sure.
up on the rooftop. I mean, it is Disney's deluxe resort, and so how many deluxe restaurants are you going to put in one place? But having said that, yes, I honestly I'm not sure why the rename, other than that they filled the entry hallway with the mementos of the park's opening, of the resort's opening.
Well, and I actually did appreciate that particular bit. I really liked seeing those photos, and I really appreciated all of the nods to Roy that were in that, because that's really so much of Walt Disney World. It's Walt Disney World, and Roy's really the one that made it happen after Walt's death. And so, I personally appreciated all of the tributes to Roy in that, but I was okay, slightly. I was underwhelmed. But let's talk about good things at Walt Disney World. Can we talk about the merchandise for a moment?
Go ahead. I went into the Walt Disney store yesterday on Main Street, and I'm sure my opinions of merchandise are not going to be what yours are.
You might be surprised.
Okay.
So if you can, let me put this up. So this is a particular piece of merchandise that I really liked. You got that up?
Yep.
Okay. Here's why I liked this particular piece of merchandise. This is a Disney World logo that is focused on Disney World attractions. This is Disney World properties. It is the only logo from the entire multi-hundred piece Disney collection that focuses on the logos of the properties, the attractions of Walt Disney World. The rest of the merchandise collection is Disney. It's the thing as your golden statues. It's all Disney IP. When we did, when we, Disneyland, did the 50th anniversary, our golden statues were the attractions. We had a golden Dumbo, we had a golden Autopia car, you know, we had a golden Mr. Toad. Those were the things. It was a celebration of the Disneyland and its 50th. Walt Disney World is a celebration of 50 years of Disney properties, and there's so little about Disney World in it. To me, it just felt so. It's a celebration of all things, occasionally a theme park. I love this logo
Your audio
because
broke up. Your audio broke up, so I didn't hear what you said. It was a celebration of all things.
it was a celebration of all things Disney. and partially the theme park.
Well, and on that front, because we can talk about the Fab 50 golden statues, which are great. They look fantastic. They came out really
Yeah, they do.
nice, and some of them are in some really unique places. But to your point, I was pointing out to Todd King yesterday, there are two of them that I can think of that are Disney World specific, and that's it. One is the Orange Bird,
Figment.
well, I was Orange Bird, and the other is Figment, yes.
Yep.
And that's it.
So
Everything else is either Pixar or Marvel or just general Disney. And I mean, that's great in a Disney park, but to make it the centerpiece of an anniversary celebrating the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World Resort is kind of troubling.
yeah. So that particular logo that I put up is available on exactly two pieces of merchandise. There's a T-shirt, a Ringer T-shirt, and a waist pack. Sorry for our British fans, a waist pack, and that is it. And that is really depressing to me that the 50th is so much about everything other than the theme parks. Now, I mean, I'll throw up a picture here. There's another collection that has some, let me see if I can get that in here, that has some park icons. You know, this particular collection has some park icons. Small World, there's, some characters and such in that. And I really loved that. I really loved this particular collection, although this is going to be one that you've got to be a total Disney nerd to even understand this one. So, this particular collection is based off of the Disney World Preview Center that was open in the 70s before the park opened. And this, so this particular orange shirt here, or this yellow shirt here that says Walt Disney World, that was based on a bumper sticker that was sold there. Based, this mug was a car
Right, well,
magnet, I
the
believe.
the yellow T-shirt that was in there is a very common one that's been recycled a number of times before. But yes, I believe it was originally. It's like you said, it was a preview center item.
Um, this particular collection, this item, this trivet, they said that this came directly from the archives.
Hmm.
And they said if you hold it up if you hold one of these merchandise pieces up next to the actual trivet from the archives, you cannot tell them apart.
Well, and
Which
I
I
looked
was,
yesterday. I looked yesterday in the Walt Disney collection and saw the back scratcher. Did you have a picture of that in the group?
I
Uh,
might
my
somewhere.
parents bought the back scratcher in 72 or 73 for $1, and it is very authentic to what's in my parents' basement, except it doesn't show 50 years worth of wear. It's also $11.95 more expensive 50 years later.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not bad. Maybe that's not bad for 50 years, but it's yeah, that well there's some of the resort on there. I see the castle and the monorail and horse-drawn trolley.
So but this is the retro collection.
Right.
So this bell and this salt and pepper shaker set were actually from the retro collection. It was previously sold. So I don't know, but okay. So then that's that. Let's get into the thing that I thought they did an amazing job of. And let me pull that up here. I mean, you want to talk about the absolute deepest of deep cuts. There you
Well,
go.
a lot of the food and beverage is that deep cut stuff. I mean, and you attended some of the presentations on that. I did not.
Yeah, this is the bathtub, Uncle Orville's bathtub. And, from Carousel of Progress, Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, No Privacy. That is absolutely, we posted that and people are like, why is it a bathtub? We're like, you know what? We have to explain it. That may not be the dessert for you. This I thought was sad. It's the Toad Burger because we're going to commemorate an attraction that no longer exists, but that's okay. This, at least we're commemorating attractions. I'm great with that. This was the Squid's Revenge drink. from right? From 20,000
Yeah,
Leagues. Isn't that
yeah.
awesome? And then this, let me bring this up here. Check that out. Glittery drinks, because everything is glittery. But here's the thing that's really special about that.
Well, I'm
That's a
sure it's
Haunted
not
Mansion straw.
glittery. I'm sure it's iridescent.
Oh, it is iridescent. I'm sorry. That's right. It is iridescent. That's the Haunted Mansion straw.
Mm-hmm.
And then this thing, wow, you thought the kitchen sink was a feast to finish? Check this dessert.
It
So
froze
I
when
think
you tried to load it. There it goes.
Foods did an amazing job. The Cheers to 50 Years dessert at the Plaza Restaurant. Oh my gosh, I mean, that is the world's most Instagrammable food item. And of course, that's really what they were going for in all of this, was how Instagrammable can they make the food. This, there's some stuff that was definitely silly. This one, this beverage, it starts out as a lemonade. And then you drop one of these Mickey heads into it, and it colors and flavors the beverage. And so you get all of the different colors and such. The popcorn
And
buckets, which were,
if you drop the wrong one in, do you get one of those beach towels or t-shirts?
oh, magic towel. Be careful. The popcorn buckets, which were such a hit for Disneyland's 50th anniversary, they brought out for Florida, and they were iridescent as well. Mickey and Minnie, the popcorn bucket, and the sipper. I don't know if the popcorn bucket ever showed up. The sipper was at Disneyland or Disney World when I left, but Mickey was still on a boat. So that was, those have
I
been
did
super,
not
super popular.
I did not see any of the things you just showed yesterday at Magic Kingdom. I wasn't specifically looking for them, but quite often you would see stuff like this walking around on lots of guests, and I saw none of them. So I did see some of the
So
iridescent balloons.
yeah, those are so beautiful. But I mean, I do appreciate some of the stuff that's very much fan service, that you really have to be a fan of the resort to kind of understand what that was. Uncle Orville's bathtub. I mean, that you really had to understand what that was all about. There's the balloon I just put up for you, Ellen, the iridescent balloon. But I don't know. To me, the 50th.
Interestingly enough, I saw a lot of iridescent balloons with the inner Mickey head popped yesterday as well.
Not surprising for Florida, but you can always take them again reserved.
That
Place.
was rarely that was rarely the case with the non-iridescent ones, which is why it caught my attention.
Interesting. I wonder if the glass dome tracks heat more. All right, so we're getting short on time here, but I wanted to unpack something. We don't usually do this. I have this gift bag that was given to us for the 50th anniversary. Okay, so I'm gonna put this up again. Isn't this beautiful? Very iridescent-y, glittery. And I'm gonna go into it. I actually have not, since the moment I came home since the moment it was handed to me, I've never opened it up.
Well,
All
it's
right.
got one of these in. It's got one of these in it.
Okay, so we've got the 50th anniversary notebook. Oh, pretty. The iPhone 12 case. Disney Movie Insiders code.
Hey, Adrian,
Magic.
do you have your green screen setting on?
I don't.
Because I'm looking right through the book. Yes. You do have your green screen setting on. You have Small World behind you.
I didn't think I did. Turn that off. That's hysterical. Okay, so notebook. This is amazing. This little notebook. Sorry, this is just the front of this thing. Goodness. This is a pen. This is a pin. This is a Disney Plus behind the attraction. Okay, that was just the front pocket. Goodness, is there something in every pocket? I should really have opened this up before. No idea what's in this thing. Ear hat. Oh, book. Okay, Disney D23 magazine with Save 20 off of something.
Gold membership.
Yes. $50 off a gold membership?
Yes.
Darn, I wish I had that before I renewed. Cruella, the story continues. Cruella DeVille, the stories continue. The beautiful Tim O'Day book, Portrait of Walt Disney World 50th Anniversary book.
And it weighs an absolute ton.
It does weigh an absolute ton. And the Deliciously Disney Walt Disney World book. All right, so this was our lovely arriving gift for the media event. And I am going to be putting this up on eBay, as we tend to do with these things, the entire kit, as you just saw me unbag it. And that will be put up on eBay.
Adrian, can you set a minimum bid for it? Because I don't think we should give it away super, super cheap.
Oh, I am absolutely going to set a minimum bid on it. I am going to set a minimum bid on it of $50 for the 50th anniversary.
That's still low. The cookbook and the book alone are $100.
I know, but I trust our readers to know the value of these things, and I have also been amazingly surprised and humbled by how generous our readers have been in past auctions on this front that we've done for charity. So I have this. The other thing I have, and that will be a separate auction. Let me see if I can find it. A picture of it is this beautiful thing right here.
All I see is the balloon.
Well, hold please. The 50th anniversary poster, which was distributed at the exit of the park when people exited the park on October 1st. So you had to be there on October 1st to get this. And I got it and was able to get one home in relatively unmangled condition.
I did not get one because I didn't go to the Magic Kingdom on the 1st, and they gave nothing away at Epcot.
Oops. Would you like it?
No, that's all right. I got the one they handed us after the media showing of the fireworks, and I like that.
Well, do you want to show that one?
What?
You want to show that one?
It's this one back here.
You?
Yeah.
Okay. I also have one of those. We'll also be put up on eBay as a separate auction lot. So.
And I was very appreciative that this one is the same size as the calendar posters were.
Yeah.
No, it's not the same size as the 25th. It's the same size as the miniature posters from the calendars from 2016, 17, and 18. And because they did different size in 2019, I still had lots of frames in this size. So
got it. All right. Well, that's what I've got. Those will be up on eBay within the end of the week, and then the link will be in the park update, and we'll put it out on all of our social media. And I think that's what we've got for you tonight.
For Star Wars fans, I gave Todd King some of the Star Wars books that I had received at various Star Wars media events. So we can expect a whole lot more Star Wars content from Mr. King, as well as his reaction to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which he's finally visited. And for folks who are interested in the Star Cruiser, I don't know if too many of our viewers or fans or followers or DVC members, but the Dvc Point Chart came out, and friends at DVC told me their phones were ringing like crazy to make reservations, which impresses me because the Point Chart, and this is it from their website, it's very expensive. It is 295 points to 700 points per passenger. Well, actually, the 700 is unfair. That's if you're a solo passenger, you're paying more. You're paying at least double, if not more than double, the rate for the room. If you're one of two passengers, these are per person, double occupancy required point values, and they range from 295 to 369 points for the 2 nights per person, double occupancy required. Plus, of course, the $95 exchange fee from DVC to the Star Cruiser. So it translates at the current $8 per maintenance point and real estate tax point. It translates to values very, very close to the $6,000 a night that we were seeing when they released the cash prices. There you have it.
I'm looking at that. I'm like, I just I offered my kids the option. I said to my kids, okay, here's the start. I showed them every single piece of media, of publicity, anything that had gone out on it. And I said to my kids, here's your choice. We could do that. We could do a 5-night double dip, Castaway Key double dip on the Disney Cruise Line. And they thought about it for about 11 seconds and decided they wanted to go on a cruise instead.
Well, and I decided that you could get a grand villa with an ocean view at Alani for almost all of the year for what it would cost for 2 people to do the 2 nights in the Star Cruiser.
For a week at
sure
Alani?
Yeah, in an ocean view.
Yeah.
And sure that Alani would not include your food and beverage, and it would not include the unlimited entertainment or admission to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge or the guaranteed ride on Rise of the Resistance, which Anne, the Imagineer, says that their guests will get. They'll definitely get an opportunity to ride it, regardless of how busy it is, I guess, as long as the attraction's operating. So right. you won't get into the park, you won't get the entertainment, you won't get the food and beverage, but it's Hawaii with a week of viewing the ocean. So
right. Shauna says she goes with me. She says she's with my kids, that they're going for she would go for the double dip, but that her husband might disagree. I don't know, Shauna. I got to tell you, my oldest, most obsessed Star Wars kid on the entire, truly, he is obsessed with Star Wars, and for him to say, no, I'd rather do a cruise, that's huge. But I don't know. Halloween's coming up. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Which ship was this?
This is the Paradise Pier Hotel.
Oh, it's not a ship.
It's not a ship. It's the Paradise Pier Hotel.
I forgot it had the glass elevator in the lobby.
Yeah, they a lot of fun with that.
All right. I guess on that, what?
I was going to say, thanks everybody for being here.
Yeah, and for whoever stuck with us the whole time, thanks for that too. I will hit the ender button if it's still here. Oh wait, we forgot one important thing. It's this. Happy birthday, Todd Pickering.
I'm called Todd Pickering. Yes, that is my name. I'm here every Wednesday. I walk of fame.
Happy birthday, Todd Pickering. I wish he could have been here today. He got to spend the day at Disney World or at Disneyland yesterday, and I'm really glad he got to do that.
All right. For that, Alan from Orlando, Adrian from somewhere in the other Orange County, right? From Orange County to Orange County. Yep. Why didn't I think of that first? From Orange County to Orange County, we're signing off here on Mouse Planet. Goodbye. See you real soon.